Okay, so here's something nobody tells you about the number $1 million. Once you actually get close to it, or even just start chasing it seriously, something shifts in your brain that almost nobody warns you about. And it's not the shift you'd expect. You'd think hitting a big number feels like relief, like a door finally opening. But for a huge number of people, it doesn't feel like that at all. It feels like nothing. Or worse, it feels like the goalpost just moved again. By the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that happens and what to anchor your motivation to instead, because it's not what you think. The latest Charles Schwab Modern Wealth Survey found the average American believes they need $2.3 million in net worth to be considered wealthy, and $839,000 just to feel financially comfortable. Now, here's the part that should stop you in your tracks. The average American's actual investable assets, according to that same survey, land around $288,000. Most people are sitting at a fraction of what they've decided they need just to feel okay, let alone wealthy. And it's not just about net worth. A recent bank rate survey found that over half of Americans say they need at least $200,000 a year in income to feel rich. And a quarter of people put that number at a full $1 million a year. Meanwhile, the median full-time worker in this country earns just over $60,000 a year. That gap isn't small. And here's the thing. That gap doesn't close the more people earn. It tends to grow because the target moves right along with them. That's not a coincidence. That's your brain doing something very specific. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Let me introduce you to a guy I'm going to call Dave, because Dave is basically every third person's financial story. Dave started investing seriously at 24, putting in about $400 a month. By 27, his portfolio crossed $30,000, and he remembers that moment clearly. It actually felt good. He told himself, once I hit six figures, I'll finally feel like I've made it. Dave hit $100,000 at 29. And here's the part that surprises people every time I tell this story. He didn't feel like he'd made it. He felt, in his own words, fine, I guess. Within a couple weeks, the number in his head had already moved. Now it wasn't six figures, it was $250,000. Then a friend of his sold a small business for just under $1 million, and suddenly Dave's new number was $1 million, not because his life had changed, because his reference point moved. This is called hedonic adaptation, one of the most well-documented psychological patterns tied to money. Your brain doesn't measure success against a fixed scale. It measures it against a moving target, whatever the next milestone is or whatever the people around you seem to have. Hit the target, and instead of staying satisfied, your brain quietly resets it further out. It's less like climbing a ladder and more like walking on a treadmill that speeds up every time you catch your breath. Now, you might be thinking, okay, but surely at some point more money does make you happier. And sure, that's true at the extremes. But here's where the research gets genuinely wild. Researchers out of Harvard Business School studied actual verified millionaires and tracked how their happiness changed as their net worth went up. Millionaires worth $1.5 to $2.9 million were not meaningfully happier than millionaires worth less. Happiness only really started climbing once people crossed somewhere between $8 and $10 million. Below that, more money barely moved the needle on day-to-day happiness at all. Let that sink in. That means the emotional payoff you're expecting when you hit your number, that relief, that I made it feeling, is for almost everyone watching this, much further away than the number itself. So if hitting the number doesn't deliver the feeling, what's actually happening in your brain while you chase it? Here's the part that explains why this can leave you feeling worse, even while your bank account is objectively getting better. When you fixate on a single dollar figure as your definition of success, your brain quietly treats every day you're not there yet as a day you're failing. And that feeling doesn't disappear once you hit the number, because by the time you get there, the number has already moved. Remember Dave. Remember that $200,000 income figure. The target doesn't wait around for you to catch up. Now, I want to address something, because I know what some of you are thinking. Are you saying I shouldn't have financial goals? No. Having a target isn't the problem. The problem is what the target is made of. A round number like $1 million is what psychologists call an arbitrary reference point. It's clean, it sounds impressive, and it has almost nothing to do with your actual life. It's not built from your rent, your timeline, or what would genuinely make your day-to-day easier. Your brain latched onto it the same way it latches onto any comparison. Because that's what brains do. They compare, they don't sit still and feel satisfied with a private number nobody else can see. Social comparison makes this worse. Dave's number didn't jump to 1 million because his expenses changed. It jumped because his friend sold a business. Somebody in your feed buys a house. Somebody posts a portfolio screenshot. And your internal goalpost quietly recalibrates to match whatever you just saw. You didn't choose that number. It got handed to you. So here's where this gets useful, because I'm not just here to tell you your brain is broken and leave you hanging. The alternative to chasing an arbitrary round number is anchoring your goal to something specific about your actual life. Instead of, I want $1 million, it's, I want my investments to cover my rent within 8 years, or I want an emergency to stop being able to wreck my month. Start with what your life actually costs, then decide the specific problem you're solving. Job security, an anxiety you want gone, options you don't currently have. Once you know the real problem, the dollar figure practically writes itself, and it's almost never a round number. There's a second finding from that same Harvard research worth knowing. Earned wealth predicted greater happiness than inherited wealth, even at identical dollar amounts. The number itself isn't what your brain rewards you for. It's the proof that you built something. This is actually where Dave turned it around. Somewhere around $130,000, he stopped tracking a round number and started tracking something specific. What his investments would need to produce to cover half his rent if his job ever fell apart.
Less impressive than $1 million, but checking his account stopped feeling like a scoreboard he was losing and started feeling like tracking progress on something real. That's also why milestones beat single distant goals. Your brain's reward system responds to progress, not just the size of the end goal, which is exactly why apps and games use small, frequent wins instead of one giant, far-off prize. A single number like $1 million gives you almost no wins along the way. Milestones like 6 months of expenses saved or debt-free by this point give your brain something to register constantly, instead of one finish line that keeps sliding backward every time somebody near you does well. So if you're sitting there right now with a number in your head, it's worth asking where that number actually came from. Did you build it from your real expenses and your real timeline? Or did it just show up one day because it sounded like the number successful people are supposed to have? Because the version of you that hits an arbitrary round number is probably going to feel a lot like the version of you right now, just with a new number already forming in the back of your mind. The version of you that builds a target out of your actual life gets to feel the progress the whole way there, not just a fleeting moment at the end that, if the research is right, might not even show up at all. And if you're wondering whether this pattern hits every generation the same way, or if some of us are actually more wired for it than others, I broke that down in this video right here. The one financial mistake every generation keeps repeating. I'm Matt. Thanks for watching.